Hey guys, welcome to our DFS strategy video. This is the top picks for week 3 with Nick Yuskevich and Max Steinberg. I'm not going to go with introductions and just really get to the point, aka why you should play 100% Marvin Jones and AJ Green this week. So we're going to pick one wide receiver, one running back, and one tight end, or Nick is actually going to go with a QB. I'm going to start with wide receiver. Nick, who do you think I like this week at wide receiver? I've been talking about him for the past 24 hours. Do you have an idea? Do you think you have a guess?
I do. And it's funny because I like 2 wide receivers on that team, but you've got one of them. So
so I am a huge fan of Marvin Jones this week. So he has a real depressed price on DraftKings at 4,200. And I just don't buy. I mean, he's had actually decent performances the last 2 weeks. The targets aren't really there, but he has scored 2 touchdowns. He's not projected for that much ownership, but there's a few numbers that I really like for him. One is just straight up snaps. Now, if we look at wide receiver snaps here, you can see Marvin Jones, 93% of snaps, Golden Tate, 80%, Kenny Golladay, 59%. So Marvin Jones is playing basically every pass down. If you look at actually his production last year, and by the way, this website is airyards.com, something I use a lot, they actually have the same sort of what Air Yards refers to as weighted opportunity rating. It's a combination of targets and air yards. Marvin Jones and Golden Tate, similar numbers actually last year. So if we like Tate in this matchup, and we do, and we like this passing offense, by the way, we have an estimated pass share of 67%, pass point 16. This is a huge passing offense. I just think, like, what? Tate is going to get a ton of snaps. He can get 4 or 5 targets, 6 targets. He could have a big game. He's had big games last year. I just think he has some great upside, and at 4,200, I'm just going to be loading up on him, I think.
Yeah, I think the price is great, and I'll just say, like, I obviously like Golden Tate a lot, usually pretty much every week, but at the same time, though, I think for what we've seen, just the targets so far, Marvin Jones is going to get more than 3.5 targets a game. Obviously, that's not, he'll get much higher target share than that. And at the same time, like, if there's some base targets that would come down, I think we're going to see a little bit less Ebron targets. And then I think on top of that, we've seen Detroit run it quite a bit actually so far in the red zone. And it kind of this week in a matchup versus Atlanta, I think it's a really good situation for Marvin Jones, like you said. It's going to be, and he's a really affordable price, and we'll probably see a lot of people gravitate toward Eric Ebron in particular for cheap options on the line. So for GPPs, I think you're going to get some pretty low ownership there as well. So,
Yep. Okay, you like a wide receiver, and we don't disagree with this one either.
Yeah, we definitely don't. This is definitely more one of the top guys in the NFL, and that is AJ Green. To start off with, especially on FanDuel, he is only 7,500, which is just pretty much a crime that he is that cheap.
I actually couldn't even find him. He was so low. I was like, where is he on FanDuel? He's 7,500.
It's ridiculous. This is, I don't know if it's their algorithm or if they're just making a bull call or whatever the heck they're doing. But just in any case, the first thing that I really like for Eifert, besides the cheaper price on FanDuel, is that there's no Tyler Eifert this week. We just found out he's not going to play here this weekend. And for those of you who saw me tweet about this a little bit in the offseason and mention it elsewhere, when you take a look at last year, AJ Green and Tyler Eifert were by far, the 2 guys that made Andy Dalton click. And when they were out, he stunk. If you look at this year, obviously the Bengals offense still hasn't been very good this year. But still, at the same time, these are the 2 main guys that are going to be able to make the offense go. And when one of them's out, the other does particularly benefit. So I think AJ Green, who has already gotten 18 targets this year, which is easily number 1 on the Bengals offense, he's going to benefit even more in a matchup like this where they're going up against the Green Bay Packers. The nice thing about playing Green Bay this weekend is that the Bengals are big underdogs, and so they're actually probably going to be throwing a lot to keep up with Green Bay, who should score pretty much at will against them. And Green Bay's defense is pretty beat up right now, and their pass defense just simply isn't very good to begin with. So the bottom line is I think the Bengals, they're going to be throwing a lot in this game. AJ Green's just going to get a lot of looks for somebody who's already one of the top wideouts. And he just has, and also the last thing I'll just throw in, AJ Green's gone up against Baltimore and Houston the first 2 weeks weeks, and Houston was on that short week. Those are two pretty darn good defenses, so it's a much easier defense as well. So definitely like AJ Green this week is one of the top receivers this week, maybe the top receiver, honestly. I might even go as far as
certainly in the running for top value on FanDuel. One thing to note as well is Bengals fired their offensive coordinator. New offensive coordinator Bill Lazor, Lazor, I hope I'm pronouncing it right, was the offensive coordinator for the Dolphins in 2014-2015. Okay. I've read, and I haven't read too much into this, but he apparently had pass-heavy offenses in Miami. I think that also bodes well. Yep. And, I think as the new offensive coordinator, this is more of a hunch, but, he's probably going to want to get AJ Green going. Little bit of narrative there, maybe give him a little boost. So, yeah, I like him a lot as well. Price is way too cheap. We'll see what his ownership is. Hopefully it stays low because he could be in for a big game. Mm-hmm. Let's move on to running back. I'm not going to spend too much time on this because you don't need much of an argument. Le'Veon Bell, obviously not great production in the first 2 weeks. We really expected more. He's looked rusty. The yards per carry is only 3.2. He's averaging about 10 fantasy points. But, okay, he's down at 8,700, which is probably going to be the lowest salary he's going to see all year. Chicago's front seven is not great. And I think one thing that people are just going to get wrong here is they're going to see Jay Ajayi against the Jets, great matchup, or Ty Montgomery's been awesome, or CJ Anderson, or Kareem Hunt has been awesome. And they're just not realizing that with a player like Le'Veon Bell, he's just above and beyond other players. He gets more targets. He's going to get more runs. He gets all the workload. He's in a great offense. And I think if you're not using him on FanDuel a lot, you're just making just a massive, massive mistake. Because with FanDuel, you can pay up for running back and still have a ton of money to afford guys like AJ Green, Kelvin Benjamin. I like him a lot. I don't even need to back it up with stats. Just put him in your lineups.
Yeah, and the good thing, especially even in GPPs, is just that, obviously he has gone off to a slow start, which is going to, make his ownership a little bit lower. And there are a lot of good running back plays, just, really kind of in the mid to upper range where we take a look at guys like, Melvin Gordon, Kareem Hunt, like you said, in that range. And I'm sure even in Thursday contests, I haven't actually looked at ownerships or anything. I'm sure a fair amount of people play Todd Gurley tonight. So in any case, yeah, I think the ownership will not be that high. So I think I completely agree with you there. Completely.
Yeah, I think it was actually 24% for Gurley on Thursday, which it worked out. I think it was 4 touchdowns, so
yeah,
not bad at all.
Thank you, Brian Hoyer.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to go with my quarterback here just because I don't have a running back for this in particular. But I will say this is definitely more a little bit on the GPP side of things. I don't think he's the top quarterback, but I think he's somebody with really good upside this week, and that is Kirk Cousins. Mm-hmm. I think sometimes people, it's pretty easy. I think a lot of people forgot about this in the off season when it came into just the rankings of quarterbacks preseason. And I think it's even particularly easy to kind of go against him after kind of a slow first couple of weeks. But Kirk Cousins was sixth in fantasy points for quarterbacks last year. I believe he was around the same mark even the year before that. So Cousins has obviously been very productive in what's usually a pretty pass-heavy offense for Washington. They're going up against Oakland this weekend at home. It's a very high over-under. I believe it's 54.5, but the 3-point spread. So I think Washington's projected for about 26 points. That's pretty high for the point projections this week. And so obviously Cousins is going to do a lot better than what he's been doing so far for the first couple weeks, and there's definitely going to be a little bit more chemistry now that I think that Terrell Pryor's been there for a couple games, obviously under his belt now, and so anyways, I'm expecting a pretty good high scoring game there, and I actually kind of like Washington that game a little bit at home. So anyways, Kirk Cousins I think very good in GPPs with a lot of other people probably gravitating toward the Cam Newtons and Aaron Rodgers of the world.
I like this play as well, and I do have something up. Last year, Kirk Cousins 4 rushing touchdowns too, so there is some extra added value there that I think people overlook. When picking quarterbacks as well, is they just think, oh, this guy's a good matchup. But when you have that rushing ability, you do have a few extra fantasy points in your projection. I think that's really helpful. So I agree with that pick as well. He's not my favorite quarterback, but maybe I have reverse homer bias because I am a Washington football team fan.
Yeah.
So interesting pick, and he is at home, so I think that it benefits as well. Yeah. Last one, we're going to go with the tight ends. And here, I really, really love this play. Jack Doyle. So Jack Doyle has a very, very good matchup against the Browns, and I just really like him. He has been just a target monster in the past 2 weeks. He had 8 targets last week and caught all 8 of them. And this actually isn't something that it's like, oh wow, he caught all 8 of them. That's, he's just running really hot. He's actually a guy who catches most of the balls that are thrown at him.
Yeah.
Just in general. He caught 59 of 75 targets last year. He's on a similar pace this year. So I think he's really talented. Also, if we look at the snap counts again, I think this is correct, playing 96% of snaps. So huge amount of pass snaps. I mean, compared that to Coby Fleener plays 50% of snaps. So 96% of snaps you really shouldn't overlook. And, man, I just think he clearly is a good player. Jacoby Brissett, not a great quarterback, probably is going to pass the tight end a little more. Showed it last week. Really, really cheap at 5,300. This is probably the best matchup he's going to see. I just don't see why he's not a lock for like 10 DK points or more. And he certainly has upside for some touchdowns and catches. So I like him quite a bit.
Yeah, I completely agree. He's the best. As far as the cheap tight ends go, he's easily the best, in my opinion. He's probably, as far as total projection, I mean, it kind of depends on who actually plays at tight end, because we have a couple, injury things going on with some of the higher up guys. But even so, I think, Jack Doyle is very much, if we're talking about just straight up projection, he's probably, 5th or 6th or something like that. In my mind, maybe even a little bit higher than that. I'm not. He's probably behind only like 2. Like I can think of 3 or maybe 4 guys. I think I'd put him just behind. But really, yeah, I'm in on Jack Doyle. And the one thing you mentioned about Brissett going to Doyle a decent amount last week, that's definitely a thing for me. Not specifically that, but just that young quarterbacks do like to go to the safer options, like more the guys that are going to be running over the middle of the field in the shorter routes. This is definitely something we've seen with like Carson Wentz. That's a little bit of a spoiler because I'm about to talk about Zach Ertz, but
why don't you talk about Zach Ertz?
Yeah, so but we see this a lot of times with the younger quarterbacks that they do like to go with to the tight ends and to the safer wide receivers. A lot of times the slot guys, depending on the offense. So, anyways, I'm completely with you on Jack Doyle. Very good play. So yeah, for me, tight end wise, so Zach Ertz is the guy I want to mention. So right now, I would say, Travis Kelce's probably slightly should have a slightly higher projection than him, and I think that's fair. But I really think Zach Ertz is pretty much right there, in my opinion. And the reason why is that he is somebody that's still drawing a ton of targets, just like last year. He has 18 targets already this year. Like I said, Wentz is, he's a much younger quarterback. As far as they like going to the tight ends and the safer guys more. And Zach Ertz was a guy that ran bad in the touchdown department last year, and he's ran bad so far this year. He still hasn't gotten a touchdown yet, but I believe Zach Ertz was near one of the very top tight ends in DraftKings and FanDuel fantasy points per game last year. I believe he was 3rd, maybe he was 4th. I'd have to double check. I should have double checked that before I got on, but he was right there at the top in any case. So. As far as this year goes with some of the injuries situations we have with like Greg Olsen, Gronk's kind of is questionable. I think he's probably going to play, but Gronk seems a little bit slow to me and everything. Like I just think Zach Ertz is as good of a play that there is actually a tight end, just maybe right behind Travis Kelce. I'm pretty high on him this week.
Yeah, I mean, I can't disagree with any of the numbers. I would say that I probably want to spend down at tight end this week just so I can afford some of these higher priced guys and guys like Le'Veon Bell. So I'm not as much on Ertz as you, but the numbers obviously speak for themselves.
Yeah, I just double check. Ertz 3rd in DraftKings fantasy points last year. It looks like 4th in FanDuel or 5th in FanDuel fantasy points per game. So yeah, right there. But no, that's fine. As far as the lineup building, I think that's a very good point. Obviously, I wasn't even exactly considering that for like the top lineups that you're making out there. So yeah, no doubt.
No, I just really wanted to undermine all your points before we got done. So there we go.
It's nothing unusual. Yeah, no, I'm kidding.
So that is our picks for week 3. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any comments, disagreements, agreements, feel free to tweet us with Nick. You can say at Nick Yuskevich. what you see on the screen, or me at Max J. Steinberg. You can visit the Daily Fantasy Winners forums, where we can have some great discussion about more in-depth stuff, why we like these guys, how we do our research, all those types of things. So again, I hope you enjoyed this video, and see you next time.